How's it huffin', Jankheads, and welcome to Sporemon! That's right, we're doing a brand new Spore series based on a crossover between two of my all-time favorite games/franchises, those being Spore, the lovely game we're playing today, and Pokemon. Y'all know it, a lot of you love it. I personally love it, and I have been making fake Pokemon in this game for years now, and I am so excited to finally be able to showcase some of them to you guys. Now, some of you know that I have a very extensive collection of fake Pokemon made entirely inside of Spore, and when I say fake Pokemon, I mean like entirely original designs that have their own stats and abilities and names and types, and I have approximately 1,938 of them. When I say approximately, that's because it's also mixed in with some just random Spore creations here and there, but most of these are fully fledged out Fakemon within Spore. Now, obviously it would take way too long to fully be able to showcase every single creation I have here to you guys in video form, so I decided to pick a specific group of them, a fake Pokemon region that I made within Spore based on my home state of Colorado. It's called Coloria, and we have approximately this many. I don't know how to see how many I'm looking at currently, but we have approximately this many within Coloria. Now I know that seems like a lot. However, a decent amount of these are shinies, so keep that in mind that it's not actually this many and that some of them are kind of technically duplicates. Either way, in this video, all we're going to be going through is the starters, but that's not all. I got a super special surprise. Not only will I be giving a full Pokédex-style description of each of the Sporemon, as well as their typing, their stats, and their abilities, but I've also been working with the wonderful and incredibly talented artist KitKat to bring these Sporemon to life in the more classic 2D Pokemon style. A link to their work is in the description if you'd like to get a commission from them. Now, like I said, in this first video, we're just going to be going through the 3 starters and their evolutions. They're the classic Grass, Water, and Fire, just like normal Pokemon. However, a key difference is that each of these lines has 3 final evolutions rather than the classic 1, each with their own secondary typing. I think it's a cool way to bring some diversity into the starters. Now, these starters have each of their own motifs, stories, all that kind of stuff. But we gotta start somewhere, so we're gonna start with the first grass evolution, the adorable Flowwild. Now, each of Coloria's starters actually represents a different part of Coloria's history. The grass starter represents Coloria's modern day. The water starter represents Coloria's colonial period in the early industrial age. And the fire starter represents a more wild time in Coloria's history, a primal time before the region was colonized. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's talk about the grass starter. This is the adorable Flowwild, ain't he cute? Now, the grass line in Coloria represents, like I said, the modern day. Now, Coloria, based on Colorado, what do you think of Colorado and grass? When you think of those 2 words together, what do you think of? Yeah, you think of weed, alright? We're not gonna dance around, you think of weed. And so, the whole grass line, yes, it's based on weed. Listen, I made this when I was like 18. I hadn't even smoked weed yet, but hey, you know, it's part of Colorado's culture, so I figure, why not? Now, the basic Flowwild, well, I don't mean to call him basic necessarily, he's just the first in the evolutionary line. He's a pure grass type, native to Coloria, as everything we're going to be seeing is, so don't worry, I won't be saying that every single time, even though it is there just for organizational purposes. His stats go a little something like this: middle of the road HP, low attack, middle of the road defense, high special attack, high special defense, and very low speed. His ability, Overgrowth, boosts grass-type moves when at low HP. Now that is a classic Pokemon-style ability. I have a ton of original abilities throughout all of these different Sporemon. A lot more of the newer ones have better, more unique abilities as well. Some of these older ones will be a bit more basic. Either way, this is the Seedling Sporemon, and it is, I guess, for the region, it would be 001, our very first Sporemon. And here is Flowwild's shiny form. You can see we got that kind of lavender base with the, I guess you could almost say gold sort of roots crawling up him, and then that big gleaming sunflower-esque face. And of course, here is our wonderful artist interpretation yet again. You can see just how cute this little guy really is. You can also see its shiny up here and its size relative to the average trainer, I suppose. And here we have our water starter, Goateel, the mountain stream Sporemon. This is a mountain goat style Sporemon based on the extensive streams and rivers that are in the Colorado mountains, as well as the plethora of minerals that are found in the Rockies. The Rockies were mined extensively throughout the colonial times, and still to this day, and this line represents that. He's a pure water type. His ability is Raging Stream, boosts water type attacks at low HP, typical of a water starter for sure, and his stats go a little something like this. Pretty middle of the road HP, high attack, high defense, low special attack, middle of the road special defense, and middle of the road speed. And here's his shiny, a much fiercer look for Goateel. You can also see, I think it's probably going to be pretty obvious, that this whole design is just a little bit better looking, and that's because, well, I made this shiny a lot after I made the original Goateel. So, if you actually want to see what the design looks like at its best, at least in the Spore form, then you are really going to be wanting to look at the shiny forms. But anyway, here he is. And here's our artist's interpretation of the little guy. Absolutely unfathomably adorable. I am quaking at how cute this little thing is. I also love the shiny. The addition of the purple iris absolutely makes that thing, makes the overall design of the shiny, I think, way better. Again, there's the relative size, and yeah, I'm in love with this one. And finally, as for the, well, first stages of the starters, we have Pup Arrow, the Hunter Sporemon. He is a pure fire type with middling HP, high attack, low defense, decent special attack, pretty good special defense, and good speed. His ability, Raging Flame, boosts fire type attacks at low HP. Classic stuff. I think this little guy, even in his somewhat primitive design form you see in front of you today, is still pretty freaking cute. And here's the fearsome little pup's shiny. You can see we got more of a green, sort of also teal color at the base, and got that yellow goldish striping going down as well. Also, just want to point out again, the legs are much more better, yeah, that's what I meant to say, proportioned, so is the body. It's an overall sleeker design. However, it's not quite as sleek of a design as this is. Here's our artist's interpretation of Pup Arrow. This design is awesome. I absolutely love the addition of the glowing flame tail. It's stuff like that exactly that I just can't do in Spore that makes having an actual artist be able to draw this stuff so cool. And I think this little design of Pup Arrow is the perfect combo of, well, badass and oh, so adorable. I mean, look at him. He's just a little guy. He's just a little guy. So now that we've seen the initial starters, we can now delve into their first evolutions. Or, well, their second evolutions. I mean, it's the first time they evolve, but it's their second stage. You know what I mean. Let's start with the grass one. The second stage of the grass line is Weedager. Yeah, a pretty, I would say, accurate representation of the teenage weed smoker that you can see wandering around the streets of Colorado. They're thin, they're gangly, and they always got just a little bit of a weird look in their eye. Just something's a little off. But hey, that's what the green stuff does to you. This is a grass and poison type, so I actually take back what I said earlier. I do think each line actually does get their secondary type in their second stage, and then in the third stage, they can either keep it or switch it to two other types. I believe that's the idea here. But if you can't tell, it's been a while since I've made all of these. It's been actually a little while since I've really just looked at them that hard either. But like I said, a grass and poison type. HP, meh, not great. Attack, not great. Defense, pretty bad. Special attack, solid. Special defense, decent. Speed, bad. Ability, overgrowth yet again. However, it also has the limber and lax ability. It cannot be paralyzed and it cannot fall asleep. This is also straight up the cannabis Sporemon. Really ain't stepping around anything at this point. I mean, it's called Weedager. What'd you expect? And here's the little rascal's shiny. Got that purple glowing even brighter, as well as that light blue on the wrists there. And of course, still got that big golden sunflower look to him. I like this shiny. I like it. I gotta admit, I like it. But leave it to our artist to really capture the apathetic look in this guy's eyes that he really needs to have. Again, another thing you can't always do in Spore is give personality. You can to a certain extent, but there's just nothing that you can do quite like a true artist drawing like this, and I think, yeah, they really captured his lack of care about anything. The second stage in the water line is the Silver Horn, which actually, I don't know if I did this entirely on purpose, but there is a town in Colorado called Silver Thorn. So yeah, I'm just going to call that a purposeful genius move on my 18-year-old part back when I made this. This is a water and steel type. Gains that steel type obviously from the minerals and all those streams and mountains and all that. Somewhat decent HP, solid attack, real good defense. Lackluster special attack to say the least. Decent special defense and decent speed. It also has the ability Raging Stream, but now it has the ability Iron Defense as well, which means its defense stats cannot be lowered. So don't use your Leers or your Tail Whips on this guy. I actually don't remember which lowers defense, but one of those does. And yeah, it's gonna be useless. This, of course, is the Silver Sporemon. And here's the shiny form. I'm just now realizing that the legs are a decent amount shorter. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but either way, I think the orange textured base with that real dark black armor really does make this thing look cool. But with Kit Kat's help, I think we got this thing's design to a place that I even like more. We got that silvery sort of armor, changed that to be a silvery wool, a steel wool even, if you will. And I think this guy, well, he's still got a pretty good amount of cuteness in him. I mean, there's no denying that, especially with those fluffy little shoulder pads. He's starting to look pretty cool, especially the shiny. The first evolution of Pup Arrow is Fan Fang, a combination of Phantom and Fang, if I remember correctly. He is a fire and ghost type, a little play on the, well, not only the reliance that the early man had on fire, but also the spiritualism that came with primal life as an early human. This is the Hunter Sporemon, not to mention playing on the fact that wolves, canines, well, just wolves, were our hunting partners, and we relied on them heavily as well. This beautiful fire and ghost type has a little bit of lackluster HP, but solid attack, poor defense, solid special attack, solid special defense, and good speed. He of course still has the ability Raging Flame, but now also has the ability Expert Hunter, which means his attack stat and accuracy cannot be lowered, similar to the ability of Silverhorn, but more offensively based. Speaking of base, check out this shiny form, that deep green with the gold stripes and that, I don't know, blue flame, I suppose? Oh yeah, of course it's blue flame. On the other one, it's just normal flame. I'm a fan of this one too. I realize saying I'm a fan of my own designs is, kind of jerking my own dick, but hey, you know, I can at least say I'm a big-ass fan of this person's design. Well, I mean, it's technically my design, but they reinterpreted it. I mean, so it's really their design. Either way, this is Fan Fang fully reinterpreted. We got these beautiful purpley flame paws, as well as that tail still glowing, and man, the tail glow effect with the green, that shit looks cool as hell. Now, with the second stages out of the way, we can move on to their final forms, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So, for the original designs, it was 2 of them would keep the secondary type of their predecessor, and 1 would gain a new secondary type. However, looking back on that, I felt it would be more worth to have each of the final forms have their own unique secondary type. That, of course, was also partially an idea of my artist friend who, after looking at my original designs, also had the idea that I don't know exactly why I even did it the way I did it in the first place, but we did change them a little bit. So you might start noticing that the artist reinterpretations and the original design start looking a little bit more different, but that's by design. Now, let's start with the grass final evolutions. The first of the grass finals is Bongstone, the stoner Sporemon. This version of Weedager grew up to just keep smoking, and, well, he grew up to be a pretty chill guy. Maybe a little too chill sometimes. Some could say he's lazy, but, he gets the job done. He's a grass and poison type, native to Caloria, of course. HP, somewhat middling, especially for a final stage. Attack, not great. Defense, not great. Special attack, solid. Special attack, real solid. Speed, still poor. Ability, still got the overgrowth and still got that limber and lax ability. And here's the shiny. It's certainly a sensible next step in the evolution of the shinies for this line, and the other types, or the other final evolutions I should say, have much more, I would say, unique shinies relative to their predecessors. Either way though, this is my version of Bongstone, my old version. I think the artist reinterpretation really took this guy up a notch. And I'm sure you can tell why. This old man sort of look with the pipe cane, hello, that's awesome. We also changed this thing to a grass and psychic type. You'll notice that a decent amount of the final evolutions have different typings. That's because in order to get them all having their own unique secondary typing, we had to switch some of them around a little bit. But for this old man classic stoner, I think the psychic type really makes a lot of sense. I feel the least confusing way to do this will just be to go through each type one at a time. So, for the second final stage grass type, we have Delanor. This version of Weedager grew up to realize he could profit off the weed industry, and boy, does he. This grass and poison type has better HP than its cousin, as well as better attack. It has relatively the same defense, but somewhat pretty seriously better special attack as well. That does come with a massive hit to its special defense, however, meaning that it is a almost entirely offensive build, very different from its cousin. Its ability still got overgrowth as well as limber and lax, however it's also got corrupt, which means it gains stab for dark moves. His shiny really represents just how intense this thing is. It's quite the intimidating look, to be sure. But it doesn't get much better than this right here. That dynamic posing that our artist reinterpretation gave it is fantastic. This is one of the final stages that actually kept its secondary form while being redrawn. So it's still a grass and poison type. And that mean mug really, well, it tells you what the deal is before you even get too close. Now, our final evolution in the grass line actually represents the positive side of medical marijuana, the medical side. Well, that's one of the positive sides anyway. This grass and fairy type is Canamed. He is a healer based around, well, grass and fairy. He has pretty middling HP, pretty bad attack, as well as middling defense. However, his special attack and special defense are both solid, and his speed, decent. Pretty solid as well, better than some of his cousins and his predecessors. Now, he also has the overgrowth and limber relax abilities, but he also has the healer ability, which gives a boost to all moves which heal HP. So really, you gotta want this thing to be loaded up with all kinds of heal moves to keep your party, well, at tip-top shape, while it's also dealing some pretty solid damage. And its shiny turns it into an absolute beacon of health. The sunflower look is still here, yet it's got a much more vibrant pinkish purple body. Do really like the look of this one as well. I think all the colors really look good together. But leave it to the artist version to really capture that essence that he's got. He's snooty, he's got a pink mustache, he's got little wrist things that look cool, but also represent how he, well, he kind of thinks he's better than you as he's healing you up. He's got these wonderful little leaf adornments as well. I think the design of this guy really came together in the end. And his shiny also definitely works in 2D. The first of the final in the water line is Leadhead, water and steel type, a real heavy hitter type Sporemon. He's got real solid HP, solid attack, great defense, completely useless special attack basically, but also quite solid special defense and good speed. This guy is an all-around berserker of a fighter. His abilities still got Raging Stream and Iron Defense, however he's now got Heavy Lead, which means he resists moves which move the target. Basically means he weighs a shitload, so anything that tries to pick him up, push him around, well, it ain't gonna work very well. And his shiny really helps with intimidation factor too. I mean, he's already a berserker, but with this shiny, I'd be shitting myself if I saw this thing coming towards me. Still got that purple for the lead, but with that orange base, I love the color scheme here. Now this Leadhead is a little bit different, and that comes from his type change mostly. We changed him to the rock type. Considering only one of the final waters was now going to be steel, we figured the natural replacement for that for Leadhead would be Rock. So he really keeps that heavy, hard defense sort of look. And I think it really works with the rocky adornments, like the fluff of a mountain goat, or a ram, I guess I should say at this point. I think he looks great, not to mention that tail fin / mace in the back hits hard. Next we have the tall and elegant Goldram. The Gold Sporemon, a water and steel type, of course. His HP is quite solid, as well as his attack. I think that's actually the best attack we've seen so far. His defense is more middling, though. Gold is a softer metal, after all. His special attack, also not great. Special defense, also somewhat lackluster. His speed, though, is real solid, making this guy a, I guess in classic Pokemon terms, he'd be called a sweeper, considering he's fast and heavy hitting. I believe that's how that works anyway. Still got Raging Stream and Iron Defense, however, he has the ability Quicksilver, meaning using a Steel-type attack raises his speed 1 stage. Yep, that basically makes him the perfect sweeper. His shiny, though, actually takes quite the departure from the other shinies in his line. Rather than going for a very dark armor, he actually gets a glittering light blue armor. Now, I don't remember exactly what my intention is here, however, I'm going to go ahead and say I wanted it to look like diamond? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that. And as you can imagine, Kit Kat really knew how to bring the snootiness out of this one as well. This one did remain steel, and it's got this wonderful steel underbelly that I quite like, as well as just the gold ram fur that we've come to know. I like how its side fins look a bit more elegant, as well as its horns, and this design on the tail is just wonderful. I also think the shiny really looks good as well. You know what, actually, maybe I might just be starting to realize maybe I made it that color to be Bronco's colors? That's not Bronco's colors, it's the blue's not right. I don't know, either way, I really do love how it turned out, especially with that purple eye. Now, the last in the water line, you may notice, has a bit of a different look to it. It's overall pretty similar, however, the tail is definitely built differently, much more pickaxe style. And that's because Minehorn here is a water and ground type. He has solid HP, quite solid attack, good defense, decent special attack, solid special defense, and quite solid speed as well, making him another great all-rounder from the water line. He also has Raging Stream and Iron Defense, however his minor ability boosts attack 1 stage when fighting an Earth type, which I guess that just means when fighting a ground, rock, or steel type? Shiny Minehorn's got a real dark look to him. He's definitely got the darkest overall base, as well as some real dark back and leg adornments. I think this guy really looks like a daemon. While the Spore version certainly looked a bit stiff, and I probably could have changed the pose up a bit, I think our artist reinterpretation here really captured a fantastic battle pose that I think the Minehorn would absolutely take. And considering that shiny looks the way it does, I think this thing really turned out super badass. The first of the final fire evolutions is Wolfbane. Based off the main wolf, he's the main wolf Sporemon, a fire and ghost type. He's got solid HP, quite solid, well, great attack, lackluster defense, great special attack, and great special defense, not to mention also pretty damn good speed. He's got the Raging Flame and Expert Hunter ability. However, the Expert Hunter actually has a secondary effect. Not only does it raise the attack stat and accuracy by 1 immediately, they also cannot be lowered. He also ignores the evasiveness stat, meaning this thing is basically always gonna hit its attack. And here's the shiny, keeping that deep green of its predecessors as well as that kind of golden yellow striping. However, it's got a very deep vibrant blue on the feet and the whiskers, not to mention those big gleaming eyes. Now, you're going to notice right away that the fire-type artist reinterpretations are a little bit further away from the original designs, and that's just because, well, both of us started having some real great ideas as far as how these things could actually be reinterpreted, and I think we landed in a real cool spot for a lot of them. This is Wolfbane, also the main wolf Sporemon. This one was partially decided to be changed considering main wolves, despite being cool, don't actually live in Colorado. So it was changed to a bit more of a almost Wendigo style, more bipedal. He's got the flaming stick and the tail flames on both the original and the shiny for this one look so cool. I think where this ended up is a sick design. I could totally see it being in real Pokemon. The cousin of Wolfbane is obviously none other than Wolfflame. Cut me a break, I was 18 when I named these. This is a Fire and Ghost type native to Coloria. His HP, solid. Attack, great. Defense, lackluster. Special attack, pretty good. Special defense, real good. And speed, fantastic. This thing has Raging Flames and Expert Hunter. However, the Expert Hunter has a slightly different effect than it did on its cousin, which I realize is a little bit confusing. However, again, cut me some slack here. This version of Expert Hunter means attack stats and accuracy can't be lowered, but also that critical hits land much more often. So this thing is really going for the jugular at every chance it can get. You can tell this thing's a little bit more classic wolf style, even though with those long ass legs, I don't really know exactly what I was going for, but it's definitely got a more dark look to it, which is actually somewhat changed in its shiny form. It's still got that real dark green, and that striping is kind of a bright red. However, its detail is actually a quite vibrant bright blue. Admittedly, this one ended up being pretty damn close to its original form. This thing remained Fire and Ghost, even though the last one became Fire and Dark. I don't know if I mentioned that when the last one was here, but still, Wolfflame, Fire and Ghost. He's got that big, bushy, glowing tail, as well as that, I don't know what you'd call it exactly, just the feathers on its back. I love the look, and it's definitely got that dark menace to it that the Fire and Ghost type surely needs. And the final fire stage, as well as the last Sporemon for this video, is the Alfang. A fire and psychic type, at least originally. It has solid HP, solid attack, decent defense, real good special attack, and fantastic special defense. Not to mention solid speed. It has Raging Flame and Expert Hunter. This version of Expert Hunter meaning attack stat and accuracy cannot be lowered, a more classic Expert Hunter like its predecessors. However, it also has the Alpha ability, meaning it instantly drops the enemy's attack one stage, which essentially works the exact same way as Intimidation, a very classic, famous Pokemon ability. Now this guy's got that real big-ass headdress, as well as quite intimidating eyes and a star pattern on the tail, I suppose. And the shiny version, like so many other of the shinies, is, well, the colors are different, but the design is, I would say, overall better. I do like the green with that sort of faded pink on this guy, though. And finally, we have the artist reinterpretation of Alfang. Obviously, we couldn't use the psychic type since it was already used on one of the other final stages, so we were brainstorming and we decided to go with Ice type, because at the end of the day, I love basically everything primal, extinct, fossilized, and I wanted a saber-tooth, so we went for Ice. And I think this version of Alfang looks infinitely cooler than the original did personally, and I am very happy with how it turned out. That light blue glow in the tail and the mohawk and the flames on the shoulders, man, this thing looks cool. Not to mention that green shiny with that extra layer of darkness on it, I think really works. I think it works so well, in fact, that I decided to make my own version of their version of my original design. Here he is, Alfang, in his modern glory, a fire and ice type. I did, in the Spore description here, I described him as a primal form. We'll get into all kinds of different forms and fossils that show up later in the region if you guys are interested. But this version of Alfang has solid HP, pretty damn good attack, decent defense, great special attack, well, good special attack, good special defense, and great speed. It has the ability Raging Flame and Expert Hunter. However, it also has the Alpha ability, which I don't think this is the same as it was on the other one. This ability copies any stat boost it has to any of its teammates, so it has a little bit of a double battle mechanic on it. And I think this version also looks, well, super cool. I think this is my ultimate version of Alfang. And that's gonna do it for our first episode of Sporemon, Jankheads. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, because I would love to be able to do more of this series, and, well, if enough of you watch it, I'm definitely doing more. Let me know what your favorite design of the video was, and if you want to see more of the Coloria region, or the quite literally thousands of other creations that I've made in this game as well. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, Jankheads.